Joining us now, CBS News legal analyst Jack Ford. Good to have you back with us.
Good to see you, Erica.
So let's start off with this breaking news that now a Dutch newspaper reporting that he has said, he was tricked, very scared and confused, doesn't know what he signed. He didn't mean it.
It's not that simple. You can't simply say, yeah, never mind. This doesn't count.
Just throw it out for me, would
exactly. And it's similar to our system also. Basically, if a court takes a look at it and says, we still believe there's legitimacy to what you said then. You might want to disclaim it now, but we still believe there's legitimacy to what you said then. Listen to testimony of witnesses, whatever has been recorded might lend itself to that determination. So that confession might still be in play here. All depends on how things play. Now, he could always turn around and argue again, look, here's what happened. I was forced into it. It's really not true. I'm a pathological liar. I make up things. Look what I did in terms of Natalie Holloway. So there could be some interesting arguments. But just because he says no now doesn't mean it's not in play down the road.
We're also hearing now from his mother, who's speaking out and saying, I believe, he didn't have anything to do, obviously, she said, with Natalie Holloway, but she thinks that maybe he was involved, perhaps, with Stephany Flores. She's saying that her son has some mental health issues. How much do you think that may be accurate? How much could this be setting up some sort of an insanity defense?
It could be all of those things. If I'm his lawyer, the first thing I'm saying to family and friends is, look, if he is indeed confessing to this, which he did in the very beginning, we need to find something. And maybe that something is an insanity defense. So what's out there? What can you tell about him in the past, in the distant past, the recent past? The interesting thing, though, Eric, about an insanity defense is just because you're diagnosed with a mental disease defect, personality disorder, doesn't mean you're criminally insane. There's another big leap that has to be made here. So experts might take a look at him and say, yes, he is a pathological liar, or yes, he is a sociopath. But to get to a legitimate insanity defense, variations, jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but generally speaking, you've got to show, yes, there is a disease or defect or personality disorder, and then you have to show because of that, you either didn't know what you were doing. Classic illustration, you thought you've got a banana in your hand, it's a knife, and you kill somebody. Or, even if you did know what you were doing, you didn't know it was wrong. Again, what we've seen recently is the mother of children who kill their children. They know they're killing them, but they say, God told me to do it. So they're thinking it was the right thing to do. So there's much more you need for an insanity defense than just saying there is some sort of personality disorder here.
And there's also coming up, and I believe it's going to happen today, that he's actually going to be interrogated. So what specifically would they be asking and hoping to get out of this?
Well, this is, again, an illustration where their system, their procedures are very different from ours. Not some of the core concepts, but procedurally. This is essentially a judge who's going to question him. And in our system, you can walk in a courtroom and the judge says, I want to ask some questions, and you say, no thanks, don't want to talk. Or your lawyer says, no, we're not going to talk.
Yeah.
There, he has to answer these questions. Now, he doesn't have to confess if he doesn't want to. He can. Or he might say, no, I had nothing to do with it, but he's got to answer some questions.
Is he legally bound to answer them honestly? I know that sounds silly, but there's this oath that you take in the U.S., which in theory
he's required to answer.
Okay.
Whether he wants to answer honestly or not is up to him.
Okay.
And obviously, if he gives dishonest answers and the prosecution can prove he's lying, that's not going to help him at all down the road. But it is one of those unusual aspects, very different from us, where you've got to get there, judge is going to ask you some questions, you got to answer them.
All right, love to be a fly on the wall for those.
Yeah,
Jack,
indeed.
thanks for being here.
All right, Erica.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.